Hello, you're with Echelon. Globally, management consulting is seen as an elite industry. And in Sri Lanka, a company called Stax has been a global player in the management consulting business. Joining us today is Ruwindhu Peiris, who is a managing director at Stax globally and also one of the heads of the local operation, to talk about the future of this industry and how it relates to Sri Lanka. Ruwindhu, thank you for joining Echelon. To start with, can you tell us about the investment partnership with Blue Point Capital that Stax got into in late 2021? What does this mean?
Blue Point Capital coming in last year has been a tremendous testament, I think, to really the journey that Stax has embarked over the last 17, 18 years. If you look at our journey as a company, it's really been very held private, accelerated its growth in the last 3-4 years in particular. And I think that was very reflective of Blue Point really coming in and identifying Stax as a change maker within the space. And then the space is really servicing private equity firms themselves in providing business consulting services. So what the investment does for Stax in particular is it really helps us now start being a lot more long-term oriented. Right. In terms of we thinking of our growth trajectory.
First of all, help us also demystify management consulting.
Sure.
And what Stax actually does in that space.
To me, simply put, management consultancy is expert advice to be able to come and be a partner that gives you a different perspective and helps you lift areas that you as a specialized company probably are not in a position to get advantage of. If you think of this industry over the last few years, it's really blossomed out because the world has become a lot more complex in terms of the moving parts that it has to deal with. And as a result, I think you really we've all had to really kind of start supporting each other and gaining expert advice from different angles. And also what you've seen, I think, that's really helped this industry blossom is that you realized every industry is interconnected, ever more so than before. Right? If you take the view of software is eating the world as an example, right? No industry is able to work in isolation like it used to do about 20, 30 years ago.
Place Stax in this area, in this broad area of management consulting.
Sure.
Are you doing it all? Are you specializing in a certain area of consulting?
For us, really our focus has been is providing our services for private equity firms to be able to deploy their capital in a very efficient and effective manner to be able to maximize value of the investments that they make.
Right.
That's the focus for us. We've been doing that for the last 28 years. And I think that requires, by definition, then to kind of explain a bit about what private equity is.
Exactly.
And how that model works.
Sure.
Right? And then for those of you that may not be understanding, private equity is a mechanism of aggregating large sums of funds. Typically, you're talking about $1 billion plus in most of these funds that would be invested into by high net worth individuals, by endowment funds from different universities, and different other hedge funds that really kind of put their capital to work by identifying high growth companies and taking stakes in those companies with a very targeted focus of increasing valuation in a certain hold period. Right? So broadly speaking, private equity has 3 stages. You have the identify and diligence phase, which you're looking for companies that really fit into your investment thesis, and you believe as a private equity firm you are well equipped to be able to support and make the most of that company. You have the hold period, which is when you've made the investment, and typically that's used to be 5 to 7 years, has now kind of come down to 3 to 5 years over the last few years in terms of its holding period, which within that period you're looking to really do what makes the most opportune exercises to increase its valuation. Right? So whether that be about market expansion, it could be a pricing study, it could be about rationalizing its services that it offers to its customers, a whole host of different things that private equity firm believes along with the management company to really be able to optimize its value creation capability. And then at the end of it, you have a situation of it being handed over to the next owner. In most cases, you have one private equity exiting by positioning it for the next private equity owner. In some cases, they'll actually take it public. In some cases, you have the management company actually buying out the private equity firm. Right? So those are kind of the three phases.
So, and Stax would primarily play in that first phase of helping evaluate potential investments.
Actually, we play in all three.
Right.
But interesting you brought it up because our heritage and the start of Stax, going back, our early days was very much around disrupting that first phase of identify and diligence.
Sure.
Which used to be pretty much a very standard 5 weeks, large sums of money being done by a very few set of people. But over the last few years, we've now kind of entrenched ourselves. And in fact, it's a very equal spread across all three.
If your partnership with Blue Point Capital makes it possible for you to look at a phase of growth now, and Sri Lanka or Colombo is going to become an important part of that growth, I suppose you will want new talent. And what's the sort of skill set or attitudes that you're looking for in people?
Sure. Yeah, it's an exciting time for the company. We're about 120 team members right now in Colombo. Our estimates is we'll have to double in the next 12 to 18 months.
Right.
So it's going to be a phenomenal inflection point for the company and everyone who's part of it, and those who hopefully will be joining us very soon. And to answer your question around what skills we're looking for, from a hard skills perspective and competencies, it's a whole array of stuff. So we're talking about general consulting skills, business modeling skills, data analytics, data science, machine learning, technology skills around ETL, cloud technology. So a whole host of stuff that really kind of allows you to be able to access myriad of different information and be able to synthesize it all together and really be able to cull out what the insights are. So anything that allows you to be able to do those processes are the hard skills we're looking for.
Sure.
However, I think the key differentiation in terms of what we're looking for is really mindset.
Right.
In many ways, Shamindra, I think the hard skills are a commodity.
Right.
And when I say that, I don't want to belittle it by any way, but everyone has that. If you don't have it, you're not at the party, right? And things like Udemy, Udacity have really democratized the ability for anyone truly to be able to upskill themselves and reskill themselves in any of these hard skill areas. The mindsets, though, I think are very important. That's really what differentiates. And I think this notion of abundant mindset, right? Being able to come to the table and critically evaluate things, really be able to leave your ego at the door, come back and then say, hey, I probably don't know this well enough as I should, but I'm going to learn from others that do, right? Take on very ambiguous challenges. One of the famous sayings that we try to live by is get comfortable being uncomfortable, because we're going to always operate in conditions and situations that are very complex, unknown, and you need to be able to create the clarity that's required as you progress. So it's going to be short iterations of building and progressively elaborating towards an end outcome, as opposed to ever really kind of knowing exactly what the answer and the path to it is going to be. So the mindset to be able to deal in that ambiguous situation, be able to naturally be able to come to the table with a natural sense of curiosity, I think is really differentiated. One thing we really kind of dug deep over the last few months was to try and codify that a bit and say, hey, what are our keystone capabilities?
Sure.
Right? So beyond kind of those specialized skills, and we've kind of come up with 4 keystone capabilities for us, right? And we term them as doer, enabler, pathfinder, and lifelong learner. So those are really kind of the 4 keystone competencies that we really looked across ourselves and said, hey, what has made us successful to really be relevant in this industry and to continuously be relevant? So that's something I think that we really look forward to. And I really urge, in many ways, I think in any industry, I really believe those 4 things apply.